Attention all drivers, I'm begging you to slow it down, slow it down, slow it down, down. Too many stuck drivers on the road, man.
All right, guys, welcome back. 8:30 in the studio. Time for us to get into our traffic discussion for this morning. We're going to be looking at seatbelts. And in the studio with yours truly for today, I have Inspector Nisbet and Sergeant. Okay, let me stop playing. Let me say good morning to Officer Bell. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, Jikki. I'm good.
All right. And let me say good morning to Officer Nisbet.
Good morning.
All
I'm
right.
wonderful.
Great, guys. Great. You have to break the ice there a bit,
The humor is good.
Okay, good.
Speak it into existence.
I like that. I like that. All right, guys. Before we get into our conversation, though, today we're looking to hear from you on our topic or any other topic that is on your mind. We're going to be opening the lines in just a bit. However, though, I just want to let you guys know, while we are sharing the information, if any question pops into your head and you're afraid that you might forget your question, you can always call.
Yes.
And we'll pause and take your question, right?
Yes.
But I would like you to pay keen attention to the information, though, right? It's on seat belts, right? Straight across the board from children to adults. And once again, the numbers to call are 465-1977 and 1903 and 662-8674. Over to you guys. Morning once again.
Okay. Morning, GQ. You hearing me clearly, right?
Yep,
Yes,
you
good
nice and
morning.
clear.
Okay. Just before we start with our topic, though, I just want to update the public about the construction that is going on at the Shadwell Roundabout. I don't know if you drove there recently, but there's work being done at the Shadwell Roundabout. They're making what we call a slip lane, one similar to over at Connery that we spoke about the other day. This is to avoid the congestion with vehicles traveling from the St. Peter's direction. Sometimes they either are going to Buckley's or they're going to Greenlands or they're going into Bastia. Now, to avoid the congestions, for those who are attempting to go to Bastia, they can use that slip lane. And we are also encouraging persons to be courteous, with those persons that are trying to merge back into the main road from the slip lane, to just allow them, because we are trying to avoid the congestion. Also, the lane that was made when you're traveling from New Road area, where you could just turn down and go into Bastia to avoid going to the roundabout, that would be closed shortly. It's a safety hazard for the SCASPA in terms of the planes and stuff like that, and they have been raising that concern for a while. So once the slip lane is completed, that road will not be in use anymore. So just wanted to update the public on that.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the update.
Yes. So we're here speaking on seat belts. Seat belts are crucial for road safety because they significantly reduce the risk of severe injuries or death in a crash by securing the occupants within that vehicle from the force or the impact. They also prevent ejection and reduce the risk of head injuries. Now, we realize, some of these accidents, you're seeing persons thrown out of vehicles. That's a result of them not having on their seatbelt. Okay? Just to give some stats and the different ways that you can get a ticket when it comes to the safety belt. You can be driving without a seat belt. That's for the adults. You can be driving with a child without the seat belt, and you can be driving with a child without the car seat. So those are the 3 offenses that can be stemmed from our safety belt law. For the year, officers have issued 517 tickets, and that's for just driving without the seat belt for the adults. Driving with a child without the seat belt, we have issued 113 tickets for the year. And driving with the child without the car seat, we have issued 56 tickets for the year. Okay, I will let Constable Nesbitt read to you what the law states about the safety belt, and then I will continue.
Okay. You can use this chair right here, put it up next to Officer Bell, and then you can use this microphone right here.
Okay. The law about seatbelt states that no person shall operate a motor vehicle unless the driver and passenger in the front seat of the vehicle are adequately restrained by a seatbelt. Right? Seatbelt means a safety belt used to secure a person in a motor vehicle. Right? A passenger who is under the age of 5 years or weighing less than 40 pounds shall be restrained in a special design, detachable or removable seat in such condition as are prescribed by the minister. Right? That means a car seat. Right? That's what we consider to be a detachable seat. Right? You got some booster seats and stuff that people put in vehicle. Anything that you can take out or put in a vehicle, that is what that section is for.
Okay.
Right? This section does not apply to driver or passengers with physical disabling condition who physically disability would prevent restrained by the seatbelt or safety seat. So if somebody's disability, they can put on the seatbelt or they won't be able to take off the seatbelt by themselves in case of an emergency. Right? We will not allow them to wear a seatbelt. Okay?
That's the exception.
That's the exception of the law.
Yes. Also, just to add, persons who are exempted or excluded for using the safety belts are emergency vehicles that are authorized. So we consider the ambulance, the fire truck, the police to some extent, and any other security forces who may be in operation with us. Buses, passenger buses,
Public transportation.
public transportation,
Okay.
passenger buses, taxis, the coasters, stuff like that. Also, if someone has a vehicle that was manufactured before 1990, I don't think those vehicles would have had seat belts in those times. So those vehicles are exempted also. So if you have a vehicle below the year of 1990, then you're exempted from wearing the seat belt.
Before you continue, though, question on the taxi. I could see, but I understand that public transportation buses,
Yes.
that has been exempted.
Yes.
What about the taxi? I don't see the logical reason behind the taxi, because taxi is more confined and should have seat belts for all passengers. Why taxi? Why taxi? You want to address that?
Yes, Jackie, keeping in mind that with the public buses, the front seat
Front seat
passengers are
bus.
not exempted.
Yeah, they must have on their seat belt.
So the front seat passengers for both taxi and passenger buses are not exempted. However, for the passengers, because of they are not equipped, first and foremost, with seat
I could see with the
belts.
buses, right?
Right, with the public buses.
But a minivan, a car will have seat belts.
They will have seat belts,
Yeah.
but it's just an exemption provided for in the law in relation to the act.
Okay. All right. So they keep it straight across the board.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Remember in your private vehicle, right? The passengers in the back seat would not receive a ticket for not wearing the seatbelt.
No, I wasn't
Right.
aware of that.
But
No.
the front passengers
front
will
passenger.
receive a ticket. Right? So if you are a driver and the person in the front seat is not wearing the seatbelt, right, you will receive a ticket for that. But you will not receive for the back passengers.
How
The only
Providing that the
Providing-
person is 14 years.
older.
and
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, because I was
Yeah,
just about to
yes,
ask
yes.
that.
So
Yeah.
I was just about to address that too, because we stated persons under the age of 5 or less than 40 pounds should be in a car seat, right? But children from 14 and under that are not in car seat or above the weight for the car seat must be restrained,
Okay, good. Good.
even if they're in the back.
All right.
So,
Well,
and that is why we gave the stats about the ticket for driving with child without seatbelt.
Right.
They can also be ticketed for driving with child without car seat. But if that child is above the age and the weight, that's where the ticket wording change.
I got you. I got
Okay.
you.
Right. I don't know if you mentioned about the booster seat. The-
Well, we spoke
Yeah.
about the car seat, the
right.
booster
So
seat.
the
Those that
booster
were-
seat is for children that
yes,
might
you know,
be
big,
above
you know,
the
it-
weight
yeah.
of the car seat, like 5 years or older. But if they're like, sometimes it's difficult for them to wear the put on the seat belt, so then you use a booster seat to elevate them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're hearing the sound, the voice of Mr. Sergeant Maguire in the studio. He has joined us late, and if you're looking online, you might not see him. But that's oversight on our behalf. We will make sure we get that right next time, Sergeant Maguire.
Yeah, yes,
All right.
yes.
I want to take this time now to open the line for individuals with their concern as it relates to the topic at hand this morning, seatbelts, and also for any other concern that you might have. 465-1977, 1903, and 662-8674. You were going to say something?
Right. Well, JQ, the reason why I'm here, I'm temporarily attached to traffic department as the supervisor, just for a short period. And so, you know that we are in the season for music festival, and so my reason for being here is twofold, in the sense that Officer Nisbet and Bell, they are doing a marvelous job in terms of the education, so we just want to expand that in relation to inspection of vehicles. We have recognized that even though that there is a very effective system in place where the authorized inspection places, that the system is set up with where it is registered back to traffic department, so they know all of the different infractions that should be looked for in relation to that will not render the vehicle roadworthy. And so what we want to emphasize, because we recognize that even though one way or the other we are still seeing an influx of vehicles with violation, the intention of that system is really to minimize, basically eliminate some of these blatant infractions that we are seeing. And so what happens when you take your vehicle for inspection, and then you get a pass, it means that you would have passed all of the required aspects of the inspection. That is, your vehicle are within the required legal tint, you have your right headlamp, you have everything, is the operation, the function of the vehicle is fully within the law, in accordance with the law. That means your tail lights, your rear lights, your brake light, your headlamp, your fog lights, and even the tint that it is within, that's a law within the law, it is within the normal regulation, which is 10 inches at the front. Your tint should not be longer than 10 inches.
Remember your last word there. On a stick of
Yes.
pen, we're getting some calls now. Let's
Yes.
take these calls. All right, good morning, your life.
Good morning, Mr. Liebert.
Good morning.
Good morning to Officer Bell and Officer Nisbet.
Good morning,
I
sir.
heard the voices, Officer Maguire, and what he says, quite interestingly, I would endorse. Officer Bell and Nisbet doing a marvelous job. I agree with that. However, I really want to at least refer to something that Officer Bell said last week. What he said, he was on one of the roads in Bassistere, seen a car approaching him with a broken license plate. He stopped it, was going to ticket them. But no sooner he recognized another vehicle at the same offense. However, it was owned by the government. And I must respect him for being reasonable and honest to say he did not ticket the person. That is good quality of a police officer. I just hope so. One last note. On the 4th of this month, at the ferry terminal, there were 3 island constables. There were 1 man and 2 women, gender. They may be young people. But then the traffic was congested. There were vehicles wanting to come in, traveling east on the Bay Road and traveling west on the Bay Road, wanting to enter the ferry terminal. And not one of those island constables recognized anything. My question to that, what I said, I recognize. Is there a briefing done before they leave the police station or the traffic department? If so, then how could they quickly forget what the briefing was based on the strategy that they're going to be working with in a group of 3 or more to make sure traffic is smoothly directed, conveniently, and efficiently? That question I am posing to you, officer. You all are doing a wonderful job, believe me. And I really admire you, respect you for what you said. So reasonable and honest last week. But I wanted to know if there is briefing done and why briefing cannot be carried out, or the strategy that they're going to be using on the road in traffic. Thanks for listening and have a good day. Goodbye.
Thanks. Thanks, caller, for your commendation and for your question. However, all officers should be briefed before they start their tour of duty. However, not all officers that are placed in town to help with the traffic are dispatched from the traffic department. Those officers he speak about, they are not under the command of the traffic department. However, I would assume that they were briefed before they started their tour of duty.
All right, let's go back to the phone line. All right, we lost that call. You can always call back 465-1977, 1903, and 662-8674. We have just about 12 minutes before we wrap up the program. Good morning, you're live.
Chico, good
Yes.
morning.
Yes, Jamdong, morning.
And good morning to Officer Bell and the other one there. 2 youngsters, they're doing well. But one of them get in touch with the sergeant because they need a little brushing up. I mean, the inspector. The man who they had up there with the thick mustache. Officers, we're going back to some education. You know we got volume of Spanish in St. Kitts. And they drive young fellas coming over from Santo Domingo coming here. The question the seatbelt for kids. I stay in the circus every day and watch these papa passing with children without seatbelt. And it happens regularly. And these are the things you all got to do. You all got to come down the circle and hear from people that just stay in the police vehicle and stay up the station and say, "Are you police hell? I got to move around the place like John them. John them had the kind of traffic, you know. But I used to move around and live with the community to understand what's going on the road. And this is the problem with IO. What happened now if we're the circus bench them? Come down there and sit down and hear what people saying and that they can relate to IO. This is how this thing work all the time. You all hear about Cecil Moulay Robert, the mayor of this country. This is what drives John them to be good traffic police. Don't circus bench. Have a good morning, GQ. This is Jam now.
No,
I don't want to feel 4 people defend though.
As usual, we always welcome your input, and you are correct that that goes a very long way when you engage with the community and members of the public, and sometimes it's always good to intermix and also observe, and sometimes that helps with your strategy, helps with your effectiveness. So I 100% in agreement with you that is something that we should do, and you will see me around. You will see me around.
Sounds good. Good morning, you're live.
Good morning.
Hey, yeah, morning, Granny.
Somebody go make right, and the gentleman before me spoke about. I mean, I do. I only want 7 months. Just 7 months to inspect our traffic, right? Because a lot of people, parents, and don't have this nasty habit. Child taking us to school, and you have them standing up in the middle console, taking them to school, right? Right? I'm not wrong, but I did it just to see what the parents was going to do. I tried
Granny, what we'll do, Granny, Granny, what we're gonna do, right? Granny, send a voice note so we can hear, because apparently wherever you're at right now, the signal is not the best, so you're in and out.
Yeah, because I wasn't here, you're good also.
All right, so send a voice note. I'll play it for the officers to hear what you have to say. All right, so while Granny do that, right? You want me to respond?
Yeah.
Okay. I would just want to add what the other caller said earlier about coming in the square and having a seat and sitting down, right? Back then, policing was different to today, right? We have something in our books in the police force called loitering, right? And when you tend to sit down in public, somebody take your picture, send it up the ranks, and they consider that to be loitering, right? That is why the police officers now, we only do that when we are doing community engagement, like a group of us, right, with our supervisors, to come and sit down, and we might sit down by a domino table and have a conversation and stuff, because it's a group of us. But when you see an officer tries to do that by themselves, right, they consider it to be loitering. So we don't do that on our own anymore, right? If we in our plain clothes and stuff, we might sit down and chat certain things with you and stuff. But when we do that in our uniform, right, it is considered something different in today's time. Not like back then, where you could have just have a little conversation with somebody and it goes as anything. Somebody must take your picture in today's time.
And be malicious.
And be malicious. And then, as a supervisor, you're not considering, you're not going to have a conversation with the person and say, maybe he's doing a little community engagement. Let me find out. No. You send it to his boss, which is the sergeant, and you say, why is the constable loitering? Right? He's not supposed to be down there sitting down in his uniform having a conversation. Right? If he wants to have a conversation, he must stand up and stuff. But you know how today's time is. Right?
Thanks for sharing that. Let's go up to the phone line. Good morning. You're live.
Hey, good morning. You know, Granny's phone ain't good, and you still ask Granny to call and talk about it. You know, the guy's phone ain't good. Anyway, but get it. Yeah, in terms of seatbelts, you know, I can remember, and a lot of persons hit us, but she does a wonderful job up and down the street of Garcia, and that's Africa Road. I can remember she gave me tickets for me not wearing my seatbelt. And from since that, I never forget to put on my seatbelt. So, and when the lock came in place, I started to practice myself. Instead of jumping in the vehicle, before you turn off, to put on your seatbelt. So I'm just asking persons if you can do that, right? You can avoid getting, is it 150 for seatbelt or $100?
150.
150 for adults.
Exactly. So you can avoid 150, you know, and
I've seen officers who have given persons chance and speak to them about they having their children in the back of the car without seatbelts. Because we are human, and sometimes we tend to forget, right? And we asking persons that when you are forced by the officers for seatbelts, and you're wrong, don't fight, don't fuss. Let's ask for a pardon. I just said I'm sorry, and buckle up, because it's for our safety. Because we have seen accidents becoming more and more dangerous in the past years. But Officer Bell, good program. There are a lot of other stuff that throughout the year I want to bring to your attention, especially those trucks. I don't want to pick the truck on them, but these trucks are on the road and they are not licensed or insured. I don't even know if some of them have on seatbelts. And just recently, there was an accident, and the guy asked the police the driver not to call the police. He doesn't take care of it. Now he don't want to take care of his responsibility. So, Officer Bell, that's something I want to speak about in terms of if you get in an accident, right, and you don't call the police, and the person refuses to pay, what happens after that? If you can then go back to the police, and file a report, is that a liar matter? Is it right for you to get to the accident and not report to the police? So the one thing that maybe you could put into for next topic, because I know we're speaking about seatbelts at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Bucky. However, I could answer that question now. All accidents must be reported within 24 hours. Refusing to report an accident, it's an offense. Okay, so all accidents must be reported. In an unfortunate situation where you don't report the accident, and then now there's problems in terms of compensation, you will have to seek legal advice. Okay? Mm-hmm. And as we speak about accidents, we realize we had a outrage with accidents, and a lot of persons were thrown from vehicles. Mm-hmm. Children, adults, everything. And because of the cry out from the community, an amendment was made to the safety belt law. Mm-hmm. From the third schedule. We, as all persons, would have been getting tickets for $150 or $200 for children. Mm-hmm. The fee remains at $150 for adults, but once you commit that offense and it's a child, the fee is $500. Now, a lot of people, their concern and complaint is that, sometimes we just begging a lift. We just want to get from point A to point B. How come we could jump in bus and ain't have seatbelt? Now, if you are aware, the insurance for public transportation is very high compared to the private vehicles, and that is the reason, in terms of anything, the insurance can be paying out willingly. Okay? People claim they beg lift and stuff like that. What if the person that you beg the lift from got in an accident, your child was thrown from the vehicle, fatally injured or seriously injured, or you were thrown from the vehicle and injured? You would be the same person going down the throat of that driver to get compensation. Mm-hmm. Because you refuse to exercise all safety precautions in terms when it comes to the safety belt. So let us not just run with the lame excuse that I just beg a lift, The person ain't got a child, they ain't got a car seat in the vehicle, just beg a lift with my child. Mm-hmm. But you got to look at it on the other end. What if that person would have drove recklessly, or somebody would have hit you in that vehicle? You would have wanted to exercise all the measures to get compensated. So why not exercise all the measures to make sure that you're safe with your child in the vehicle?
Gentlemen, we are out of time. It's 9 o'clock in the studio. We're going to call it that for this morning. Next week, we'll continue the conversation on a number of issues that were raised. We'll talk about that after the show. So again, go ahead.
Next week will be an open
Forum.
conversation.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Coming up next, we have a 9 o'clock report. Compliments to Grange. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next week.
With the fire day driver.